Welcome back, APUSH students. Today is Chapter 3 of the American Pageant, titled Settling the Northern Colonies. First is Calvinism, a theological system that believes all people are created to have certain outcomes decided by God, and this shaped the character and thought of the future generations of Americans, specifically the Northern Puritans. Predestination is a more specific definition of Calvinism, which is that there's an outcome decided for a person, what they're going to end up in the afterlife right when they're born. And this is the basis of the important theological system, Calvinism. Puritans were people who wanted to separate from the Catholic Church, wanted to finish Protestant Reformation. They believed in the predestination, the Calvinism stuff. They set the culture for English Americans for future generations. Again, this is specifically New England. Mostly New England, but it bleeds down. Visible saints were people who Puritans allowed church membership. Their intertwining with other people involved with the English church angered dedicated Puritans who wanted to separate off from the English church completely. So the visible saints were more Catholic connected. So this shows that if the Puritans are mad at people who are already in their church, this kind of shows the extension of Puritan beliefs, how radical they are. Separatists are a group of dedicated Puritan people. They led the movement to separate completely from the Church of England. By fleeing to America, they came from England, so this is important to show that the motivation for people settling, leaving England for the colonies, is largely based on religion, so get that, that's important. The Mayflower Compact was an agreement amongst the Pilgrims to establish a government. This set a precedent for future governments and constitutions in America. It basically set kind of a principle that the settlers were allowed to make their own government, which is another thing that came up during the American Revolution. Massachusetts Bay Colony was a large settlement of Puritans. Obviously, it became Massachusetts. The success of this colony contributed to the Great English Migration, which was people from England leaving to America, and also the success of the colony based a lot in Puritanism, basically advocated almost for the extension of Puritan beliefs, so they used that to their advantage. City upon a hill was an idea that Massachusetts was a symbol for humanity, another kind of thing supporting Puritanism. If Puritanism works in Massachusetts, then Puritanism can work everywhere. This idea helped the colonists in Massachusetts band together, which influenced the rest of the colonies in America. Massachusetts became the first of many successful colonies, of course. Protestant ethic was an idea that said to be good was to be committed and engage in a society in a serious manner, in a serious way, committed to community, Puritan beliefs. The rules of ethics established influenced social relations in the colony both positively and negatively, as well as helped the colony early on, as everyone took work and life very seriously. So they worked hard, took care of others, and that's why the colony succeeded. Anne Hutchinson was a Bostonian woman who was banished by the Puritans. She went against their codes of ethic, their beliefs, so she left. And because of her defiance of religion and moral norms, led to a wave of antinomianism, which was a movement that defied against the Puritans, and they kind of settled down south, almost southern New England. And antinomianism, like I kind of already said, separation from moral and of religious norms, and these people who were banished by the Puritans for their different religious beliefs settled in, like I said, southern New England, like Rhode Island. Fundamental Orders was a document establishing government in Connecticut. You can see more colonial governments being established. It was thought of as a modern constitution. The president set in this document helped form Connecticut's state constitution as well as the principles of democracy. So this is really important for connecting across time periods. Principles from this document are still principles today. Massasoit was a captain of the Wampanoag tribe. He signed a peace treaty with the Pilgrims, but these peaceful relations were destroyed pretty quickly by more English settlers. So this can be used as evidence towards the fact that even when American Indians and colonists tried to make peace, there was never an option for them to coexist. It always ended with war and battle. The Pequot War was a war between the Pequot tribe and settlers in Connecticut. The massacre that ended the Pequot tribe ignited decades of unrest between American Indians and Puritans. They hated each other even more after this. King Philip's War was a war between Alliance Indian tribes and many frontier Puritan cities and settlements. This was also called the Metacom's War, so if you see that, it's referring to this. And this is a pretty big war. The result of this war wiped out many Puritan people and slowed the western expansion of the English, and further ignited the anger between both sides. It left New England, the New England Indians in ruins, just effects from the battle. So this kind of blew up everything and was really bad and reset a lot of progress. The New England Confederation was a union between 4 colonies in New England. The union helped each colony survive better by aiding each other with defense, intercolonial issues, and resources. It was purely Puritan. This was the first evidence of multiple colonies kind of banding together as a whole. The Dominion of New England was royal authority over New England from London, so this set back colonial governments because even though it aided the colonies in defense, it gave Lincoln more authority over the colonies, which started the legacy issues of the American Revolution. Navigation laws that restricted colonial trade with other countries, made settlers in New England very mad because Britain kind of gave themselves monopoly over the colonists, and this kind of started the colonists defying Britain in any way they can because they didn't like this. Salutary neglect. This is British authorities relaxing on their law enforcement. So what you'll hear a lot is the era of salutary neglect, which is an extended time period in which Britain didn't really exert total control over the colonies. So this improved relations at the time, but because colonists began to appreciate the salutary neglect, they used it. So then when Britain took it back later, that was another spark for the American Revolution. New Netherlands was a Dutch settlement off the Hudson River. Their settlement of the land planted the seeds for the richest city in modern America, New York. We all know it. Quakers and William Penn, these are people who defied traditional religious authority. This is kind of connecting to what Anne Hutchinson did. Quakers is something that you're going to need to keep in mind. You can use this in a ton of essays going down the road. They led to a movement consisting of many young people with different ideas than the norms and formed their own colony in Pennsylvania. And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next chapter. Goodbye.